Thoughts at 3. My name is Amanda Bruce, and I am the Interactive Media Director for NPM. Today's Thursday Thoughts at 3 speaks to all types of singers. Now, for singers, being constantly responsible for your instrument can be a huge task. While you don't have to dust it or tune it, you definitely have to make sure that it is in healthy, tip-top shape if you want it to produce the best, healthiest, sustainable long-term sound. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jennifer Budziak, who will be showing us a presentation on vocal alignment.
One of the things that's especially important for us as vocal musicians is to be aware that our instrument is not just found in our vocal cord area, in our voice box, even in our mouth where the enunciation happens, or just where we breathe and where the breath is generated. Our vocal instrument really is our whole entire body. And therefore for us, care of the instrument and enabling that our instrument be as easy to use and as efficient as possible hinges on caring, again, not just for these little parts, but the entire instrument as a whole. The purpose of this video will be to address some of the ways that we can, in our preparation for singing, and honestly our preparation for facing the day. I do most of these exercises when I start the day, let alone right before I'm singing. But it's something that singers can do on their own to help get their bodies ready and prepared to sing. This is also something that choral directors can use for your choirs. Teach these to your choruses, help them learn to help themselves and find the healthiest way to produce beautiful sounds with their voices, and to do so in a way that doesn't cause tension, that doesn't cause pain, that could just enable us to be the musicians that we know we are able to be. A quick disclaimer, this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. As with any kind of physical exercise or stretching or really anything physical, please use your own knowledge of your own body, your own common sense, your just awareness of what your limitations are or are not before doing any exercise like this. Consult a physician. Just if anything causes pain, back off from that particular activity. Just be very careful and conscious of your own wellness as we go through these exercises. My good friend and colleague Ramona Wiss is Director of Choral Activities at North Central College in Naperville, Illinois. She is an author, she is a brilliant choral conductor, and one of the finest educators I've ever gotten to work with. And in addition to those things, Mona is also a certified yoga instructor. And we've talked sometimes about how some of the things that she is learning about the body and joints and movement in her yoga practice and yoga instruction can inform what she does as an educator and as a choral conductor. One of the things that she does with her choruses, often at the beginnings of rehearsal, I immediately have adopted it and started doing it myself and do it with many other choruses, is sort of a modified form of the sun salutation that exists across many different traditions of yoga. And it is a series of moves, very simple, very comfortable, totally non-threatening, that unite the bodily movements with the breath in a way that we don't always do as singers. And it helps us to really find the depths of our breath and how deep they can go, and also begin to stretch out some of the tight muscles and joints in our bodies. So for this walkthrough of the sun salutation, I'll kind of go through it once and talk you through it. Then we'll do a couple more, and the last one can be on your own time. Take it at your own pace as you wish. So for the first movement, we inhale, and as we inhale, let everything lift, torso, rib cage lift, and the arms come up, so we'll breathe in. And then from this upright position, we exhale and drop over at the hips and just release on the exhale. When we inhale, come up about halfway, and then release again on the exhale. As we inhale again, come all the way up, and then exhale into our upright position. And that's the sequence. Let's do it again. Breathe in. Exhale and release. Inhale, half up. Exhale down. Inhale all the way up. Exhale upright. Now do one more on your own pace. I usually then move to a second series of stretches, again, aimed at finding and stretching out the different parts of the body, of the whole vocal mechanism, in a way, again, that frees things and helps us release the tension that we bring to the day. Dr. James Jordan of Westminster Choir College has written a great deal in his Evoking Sound series about choral warm-ups and just the process that he works his choirs through from the beginning of the warm-up to the end. And one of the things he always says is that the first thing you have to do in a choral rehearsal, or any singing setting really, is to deconstruct the posture that you bring into the room. Whether that posture that needs deconstructing is, a sort of tired, tight body early in the morning, or if it's a choir rehearsal at the end of a very, very long day. If you've been cooped up in a house for a very, very long time and haven't been able to release the burden that puts on you, both on your spirit and on your body, this deconstruction process can be truly invaluable, both for the body and for the mind and the spirit. So that sun salutation exercise goes a long way to begin that deconstruction process. These next series of exercises I do that concentrate on opening up the rib cage and just getting the body a little freer to move also aim to do the same thing. So the first thing I usually have us do is to reach up. Again, don't do anything that is not comfortable and healthy and within your body's range of motion. Be very careful. Use your knowledge of what is good for you. But we usually reach up with one arm and then up with the other. The verbal metaphor, the image that I tend to use for this is something like you're trying to climb a rope ladder just with your hands, or I'll tell my children's choir, you're going for that last box of Thin Mints up there on the shelf. And then we debate our favorite kinds of Girl Scout cookies. Thin Mints win. So we keep doing that. What we're really doing though, as you reach up with one arm, feel the stretch all the way down your side. Feel it go, it's not about your arm, it's not about your shoulder even. It goes all the way down to your hip. Feel this whole connection. And the other side, feel that as well. Again, these are the kinds of things that singers can do on their own to help themselves find a healthy way to sing, and choir directors. You can do them also yourself for your own physical health, but also to help your choir directors find a way, again, to deconstruct whatever they bring with them that may have us tied in knots. And again, it's so true that so often the mental knots and the spiritual knots will manifest in physical knots. And so to find a way to just open that and be able to bring our freedom to what we do. So after that reaching exercise, I usually have us do some shoulder rolls. And again, their shoulders, we say, let's roll our shoulders slowly forward, up, back, and down. But I also always tell my singers as we do this isn't just about the shoulders. This is about feeling, when you move your shoulders back, feeling how the shoulder connects with the sternoclavicular joint here, your collarbone and your rib cage and your sternum. And as you do that, you're flexing out and stretching out and just adding to the flexibility of the muscles that enable all of this to move and open. And the same thing, when you put your shoulders forward, you can feel your ribs moving a little away from your spine and the flexibility you gain there. So a few shoulder rolls, whatever pace. And then I always invite singers to drop their heads. Just drop your head down to your chest. Let your head roll gently to one side and feel the stretch down the side of your neck. And then while you're there, take a nice breath in and out. Roll back to the front. And the other side, breathe in. Again, to feel that stretch down the side of your neck. Again, back to the front and the first side. Breathe in and out. Other side. Breathe in and out. And then let your head drop to the front. And this time, we're going to inhale and lift. And exhale and stay upright. Very often at this point, if you look at your choir or if you're a singer and you look at yourself in your mirror, you will hopefully see something a little bit different in your reflection because we've opened things. And when we say stand up straight, sometimes we do something, strange, or because we think of standing up straight as something that's, rigid and unmoving and unbending. But this moment when you inhale and then exhale and remain upright, you have probably found a fairly healthy alignment for your body and a nice, comfortable place from which to sing and from which to stand. Another practice that can help us in a very deep way, in my experience, with understanding how our bodies work and move is that of body mapping. I would invite you to look up Bridget Jankowski, who wrote the book Body Mapping for Music Ministers. I also did a podcast with her at the Sing Amen blog for GIA. But body mapping is the practice by which we learn in our minds to have a healthy and accurate conception of how our bodies work. And part of the premise of body mapping is that if one's body map, if one's internal representation of how your body works is accurate, then we can find a healthy way to move. And if it is inaccurate, it's really, really hard to find a healthy alignment and a healthy way of movement. So I am not a body mapping instructor. I would highly recommend going to Bridget and her work and to some of the various really good body mapping materials out there to learn more, because it's absolutely wonderful and it has kind of changed the way I do things. So when we think about body mapping and alignment, we're going to look in this video at just a few of the joints and ways that we connect with joints that make, I think, a very big difference to us as singers and as a way that we can help find our own way of being aligned and healthy in our bodies. So the first joint, the joint that we start with, and this is also the joint that Alexander technique places a lot of its focus on, and I would invite you to explore more knowledge of Alexander technique as you go also. It is the joint up here where our skull and our spine meet and join. The atlas occipital joint, I believe it is called. The AO joint is what we call it for short. I will call it that. But one of the things that many people do not envision correctly, anatomically correctly, is where the skull and the spine join. We tend to think, a lot of us, that it is back here in the back of our neck, because that's where we can feel. We feel what feels like a hinge there, right? That our spine is there and our head is there, and that's where they join. That is actually not accurate. Our spine comes all the way up into literally the middle of our skull. If you put your fingers in your ears and point at the middle of your head, your spine goes all the way up to there. So you've got this skull that has incredibly free range of motion over that. It is not a hinge. It is a very, very complex joint. And again, the body mapping materials, I tend to talk a lot, and I have been doing so in terms of metaphor and imagery. Body mapping is about anatomy and correctness, and this is the way the skeleton is put together. So really, I would say go to some of those materials and see how all of this works. And if you know how your body is put together, it makes a very, very dramatic difference in how you can envision movement within your body. There's an exercise that I use often with choruses, both adults and children, that in my experience really helps us find, again, this healthy freedom of the AO joint, of the head on top of the spine, and take a lot of the pressure off of our voice box and the place where the vocal folds live and where the sound is generated. One thing that I will see very often in courses, even after a lot of these posture deconstructing exercises, is, and I'll turn sideways so that you can see it, we tend to go through a lot of our lives kind of here with the chin jutting forward a little bit. And that kind of speaks to that idea that this is in some way a central important joint, but it really isn't. So when we're here, it's not healthy, and it puts pressure in places that do not need the pressure. So let's walk through another sort of, it's a sort of guided imagery exercise, starting first with just getting our bodies aligned, exercising awareness. So just stand. I invite you to close your eyes. Just do some long, deep breaths. Become aware of your feet. Your feet firmly planted on the ground or floor, wherever you are. Do a little bit of rocking backward and forward. Feel your weight shift. Feel all the different places on your feet your weight can be. And then try to come around to a place where your weight is evenly centered between the front and the back of your foot, between the right and left. Check your knees. Make sure that they are released. No locked knees, no tight straight knees. Just let them release. Move your awareness up to your thigh bones and the top of your thighs, where your thighs join with your pelvic bone, with your hips. Take a moment as you do that to be aware of those thigh bones. They are the largest bone in your body. They are strong, and they have to be solid and strong, because on those two bones, that is where your whole torso rests. They carry the weight of your entire body. They carry the weight of all of your vital organs and all of your breath and your voice, and atop that, your head. Your thighs carry all of that. So if you've ever had any kind of love-hate relationship with your thighs, I beg you, learn to love your thighs, because they are miracles in what they can do and what they do for us every day unnoticed. So at the top of your thighs, where your pelvic bone joins there, bend your knees and straighten. Again, don't lock them, but a couple times, and be aware of that joint where your thighs and your torso meet. It's kind of at the place where if you were wearing jeans and put your hands in the pockets, your fingers would probably sort of be there. So be aware of your abdominal muscles, and just think of contracting those a little bit. Just engage your lower abdominals a little. This might cause your pelvis, instead of being there, sometimes if we release those, it can release to the back and tilt forward too much, and then we get lower back pain. But if you engage just a little bit, the lower abdominals, it will help that straighten. It will also make it much harder for your knees to lock, which they shouldn't be anyway. Keep breathing. Move your awareness up your spine to your rib cage. Feel what your ribs do as you breathe in and out. Feel that they're there. Feel the muscles that surround them. Now move up to your neck and the base of your skull. Try to move awareness up to that AO joint that we talked about, that's right in the middle of the head. It's right up there. Now, with your eyes still closed and still breathing, I'd invite you to imagine, call to your mind's eye, the vision of a helium balloon on the end of a string. Imagine you're holding that string. It's a good big balloon full of helium, so you can feel it doing what it does. Imagine that helium balloon and how it moves, just how it is in space. It doesn't pull or yank or do anything, or really do anything at all. It simply tends upward. Now, thinking of that feeling, imagine your head, your skull, to be like that helium balloon. Feel it lift, feel it rise. It's still attached to the string. It is still attached to your spine. That joint, the AO joint, is still there. But the head is not pressing down on it. There is no gravity. It simply lifts and it rises. Now, if your eyes were closed, I invite you to open your eyes. I would invite you, if you've never done that exercise before, try it again. Go to a mirror. Look at yourself. Close your eyes. Do the exercise. Look at yourself again. Most of the time when I do that with a room full of people, I see a room full of people literally grow half an inch to an inch in the doing of that. You have the difference between here and here. And the freedom that that gives this entire part of your body, and especially the freedom that it gives your skull, your mouth, and of course your vocal mechanism.